Hello and welcome to podcast number 14. This is their third attempt to get the podcast started. We won't make any buts about it. And today's guests are Charline Jones and Lee Jones. Previously joiner.
Yeah.
You can say hello if you want.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I'm Lewa Jones.
You've gone all shy all of a sudden.
I'm not shy.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough.
Just try to sound nice.
Okay. So we'll start with the news. Phil, have you got any news this week?
I'm going to Valencia on Monday or Tuesday. Monday.
Holiday?
Bit of a holiday, a bit of training camp. Looking forward to the pool out there.
Okay.
And yeah, that's my news. There's not much exciting stuff going on in my life.
We're going to talk about your new barbecue as well.
Yeah, because last podcast with Ben McCulloch, we actually had a lovely barbecue on it, but we didn't go into it. So yeah, I've got a new barbecue. Best purchase of my life.
Lying already.
How am I lying?
Because no one says that about a £1,500 barbecue that they're going to use about 4 times a year. The coffee machine. Or the £3,000 coffee setup.
That was a good purchase as well. Definitely, yeah.
Whenever you're in Phil's house, it's a little bit like sitting in an Amazon depot.
Mm-hmm.
He basically just sits in all day tracking the DPD driver on his phone. And he just sits there going, for fuck's sake, John, hurry up and get to my house so I can leave. And he actually used that as an excuse to be busy as well. He'd be like, oh, Phil, do you want to go for coffee? And he's like, no, sorry, I'm waiting for Amazon.
Yeah, because you want the parcel, don't you? You don't want to go to the post office or...
Yeah, but there's one every single day, and it's usually shit you don't need that just goes straight in the bin.
That's a lie.
So tell us more about your very expensive barbecue. What was the logic behind buying a £1,500 barbecue?
Well, I've always wanted...
No, you haven't.
I wanted to buy something new, but I've always wanted a decent barbecue for the garden. So I thought instead of buying one in 2 or 3 years' time, I just buy one now. And
Lisa, you might be tempted a little bit with a fancy barbecue.
Yeah, sounds nice. I don't know if I could justify... Well, I reckon you were 3 days of barbecuing in Scotland. So
yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's like cost to use ratio is...
You can use it in the rain, so actually...
Oh, how? Can you explain this, please?
There's like a cover on top, so...
But
it doesn't matter if it rains.
But you justified this purchase to yourself, so can you tell us why you justified it to yourself?
Because I don't want to buy a cheap barbecue now to then purchase another the barbecue I want in 2 or 3 years' time. So I'm actually saving money.
No, the logic the logic used at the time was everyone spends £100 on a barbecue every single year because your barbecue gets worn out. Now, I don't know what you're doing for barbecues, but they don't.
Buy cheap, buy 15 times.
15 times. So he's basically like, it's saving me money. He's got a lifetime guarantee, and by the time I'm 65, I'll think that's a great purchase.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. Well, that's your news. Thank you for that.
What's your news?
My news, I was on a stag do with an ex-BC employee, so that was quite interesting, in Bristol. We got into a fight with some kids.
Yeah, I heard. So one of the guys got bottled or something?
Yeah, well, no, so there was these kids in Bristol docks, and they were giving us a bit of jip when we went along, and then someone dropped in, I was Olympic champion, and then they were like, oh yeah, shit he is, all this kind of stuff. So then we walked off, came back, and they started filming me. But then by this time, the guys who were also on the stag do were like, don't film him, that's disrespectful. And I didn't really care. But then all of a sudden it just escalated, and all of a sudden I see this guy jumping over a bench, smashing 2 bottles on a bin, and coming back over like Wolverine, but with 2 broken bottles in his hands, threatening to shank up one of the other guys. And but apart from that, it was a great stag do. Someone actually got a bit cut on their chest, like when you had the drone in your hands, and I turned it on purpose.
But he was actually bleeding, that guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was actually bleeding. Yeah, as opposed to you just making a song and dance out of nothing. So that concludes the news.
Good.
Have you got any
You
said
you've been to Glasgow. Why have you been to Glasgow?
Oh.
What have you been doing in Glasgow?
I've been at an appearance.
Wait, what was
for Morgan and Stanley. They're doing a cycle ride to Paris, and they thought who better to come and give some top tips than me. So I went and gave a very inspirational talk, and went on a cycle ride today.
What were your tips on the bike?
Such a mixed group of abilities there. So it ranged from quite basic to very minimal, I guess. But yeah, it went well. We stayed together for most of the ride.
What were the tips was the question.
What was the tips?
Yeah.
I don't know why this is a funny question. I just said normal tips.
What were the tips?
I don't know.
Give us some tips.
Give us some tips. Right, if you were to give anyone...
Use chamois cream.
Right. I don't use chamois
use
cream.
nutrition.
You use nutrition.
You don't use chamois cream?
No,
Oh dear.
ever.
Oh.
Never have I ever.
Never have I ever.
Nope.
Take a sip of your tea then. No, well that was it. Yeah, it's quite basic. You know, it's just a nice little conversation anyway. So that is the conclusion to my news. I gave him excellent tips. I can't tell you what they are because then no one will ever hire me again to give tips. So we're going to do some proper introductions to the guys we have on today. So Lee is a professional rugby player, first rugby player on the podcast, 10 caps for Scotland, played sevens for Commonwealth Games and the Scotland team as well. And has also got 74 caps for the Glasgow Warriors, which is good. Do you not have like little routines, like when people hit their 50th and 100th cap, you have to like sing a song or down a pint or something?
Yeah, lad stuff like that, like
Lads.
down pints.
Classic lads.
Yeah, classic. No, they do kind of 100 caps is probably a decent milestone. The last season I've just played, I say like in my career I've generally played quite a lot. Last season was the first season I've kind of I missed a lot of games due to injury, so you kind of never take a cap for granted sort of thing. So a wee way to go, but 100
that's the most Scottish rugby expression I've ever heard. They come out with these little lines every now and again. They're like, at the end of interviews, they go, "Aye, well, you never take a cap for granted," and they move on.
Playing in this shirt every time I'm in this Scotland shirt.
Well, every time I'm in a Scotland shirt, it's amazing. Aye, the crowd at Murrayfield is something else.
Just roll out
the
out
classics.
another cliche. Roll out another cliche. Nah.
And we also have Charline joining us today, who's played every sport under the sun, as well as taught it and coached it, mainly hockey. Won a Commonwealth Games silver medal in sprinting, then transitioned over to road cycling, which is quite interesting as well, as one of the few people who have actually done it to a reasonably successful level. And is now a PT. So you and Phil must have lots in common because Phil is also a PT.
I haven't finished my PT yet.
Have you not got any level of qualification on that yet?
I just need to do the practical days and then I'm done. But
So you're shying away from the actual bit of being a PT, which is delivering sessions.
Yes, it just takes a long time. It's like you have to commit to 4 weekends.
Oh.
So, yeah.
That's annoying.
Can you not just get someone to like sign off the sheet?
It's what I've tried many times.
Can you like take a video of yourself and like doing a PT session with someone and then send it in?
Yeah, but then you need someone filming the whole session. You can't cut it. Then you need someone who can do the session, like who can run and do all the exercises for you. So you need 3 or 4 people really. And there's no one that can run from the squad really. Maybe you could help me out.
Yeah, why not? How far do you have to run?
I think just like 5-10 minutes.
Well, it'd be good for my Ironman project.
You still going for it?
Ironman?
Well, have you heard about this bet?
No.
Phil and I have a bet that if I can do an Ironman in under 10 hours...
Oh, no chance.
No, hold on.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, wait. But I've got free rein about when I can do it, all right? And also, if I win, if I manage to do it under 10 hours, no, not win the Ironman, if I get it under 10 hours, as in I'll win the bet,
right?
I get all of Phil's physical and financial assets.
I've actually never agreed to the bet, but
You did.
Yeah, but
There's a
he's
barbecue.
never
fine.
gonna-
There's a barbecue in there. It gets just better every time. £3,000 coffee machine, barbecue, sit on lawnmower, home gym. Sounds like Wheel of Fortune or something like that.
Do you understand how hard an Ironman is?
Yeah, I'm fully aware of the physical elements of
I'm
an
glad
Ironman.
I'm not the only one that thinks you can't do
No,
it.
some people have said I can do it.
But because they're just being polite to you, they're just being fake.
My dad's done like 8, and it was not
Legend.
pretty watching him.
Was
He
it
did
not?
2 in 1 week.
Why?
I don't know.
What time did he do it?
You know when people do like
Oh,
really extreme...
He did the one that was in the Alps and did that in like 10.5 hours or something.
Oh, I'm coming for you.
In the Alps.
Yeah, exactly. So if it's
but
flat...
he was like, he was winning them and stuff, like at his age group.
Oh.
Like...
Yeah, but I've got some sporting pedigree in my back pocket.
There's no way you can run like
No.
30k or something.
Lee's been a
Have
bit
you got
quiet.
a
What do you
plan?
think?
You
Have I
got
got
a
a plan?
plan?
Of course I've got a
When
plan.
are you gonna do
Got
it?
an
Like,
investment
have you
plan. I'm going to have a full setup, full support team.
You got a plan for the barbecue?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah.
If it's acquired.
I'm just not going to use it. Leave it outside in the rain for 15 years and see if it actually disintegrates like Phil says.
It's fine outside in the
Right,
rain.
anyway,
Okay.
I don't know. I think you could do an
Hold on,
Ironman. I think you
look,
could do an
look.
Ironman.
You're supposed to be a PT, right? I've
What,
never,
are you challenging me to
to
coach you?
I've never
to do
heard
it?
such
I could
negativity
maybe-
from a PT in all my life.
Callum, I just
If I
don't
was
think you
if I
understand.
was a client of yours and I came to you and said I want to do a 10-hour Ironman, you'd be giving me high fives.
But
I
you
would
don't
be
want to be
like,
told lies, don't you?
realistically, okay, it's not going to happen. But I will help you complete an Ironman.
I'm a bit ignorant to how is 10 hours, is that ridiculous?
So it's
Yeah.
like the top guys win it in 8 hours.
No, but I can do
Like in the world.
yes,
Yeah.
but I can do 10 hours 55.
Can you swim?
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
No,
I
10
thought-
hours.
No,
10
no,
hours is...
Oh.
Yeah,
No,
10
no,
hours
it-
on the dot.
Yeah, yeah. No,
You're just
10
making
hours.
up your
No,
own
it
rules.
was.
See,
It was.
under
No.
11
No,
is
he said- no,
different.
Needs
The-
to be
I
clarified.
think you could
No.
do that.
The words of the bet were, if you do a 10-hour Ironman, which includes 10 hours 59, 99999, I will give you everything.
The thing is, you
in-
just change the rules however you want it.
The other bit is like you have to
Absolutely.
time it well, because I want to make the most of this reward that I'm going to get, which is all of Phil's physical assets and purchases, which is why we've got the podcast to find out what he's going to do,
Right.
and then he's going to be a big successful businessman, and then I'll come and take everything. Basically.
Okay, right.
Great.
Under
Um,
11.
Under 11. Yeah, that's probably a better way to describe it to the viewers and the listeners. So yeah, believe in me, Charline, coming for you. Did you hear Maximilian Levy did an Ironman last week?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, and he's not
How
retired.
long?
He's still a track sprinter.
How long did it take him?
12
12
hours.
and a half hours or something.
That must have been tough. Where
Yeah.
did he do it?
Germany somewhere?
Yeah, Frankfurt.
Yeah.
A flat one.
Probably there.
No,
yeah.
it's quite hilly around there.
Is it?
So it might have been a bit hilly, yeah.
Oh, no, there you go.
Can you swim?
Oh, the swimming.
I don't know.
is-
That would be mad.
Can I swim? Yes, I can. Yes. Not really well.
No. He's paddling along like a dog.
The swimming's
I did a bit
tough.
of open water swimming recently with my
elbows
family.
in the head.
I was exploring new sports. I was thinking about rugby as well, so we'll get onto that later. But I went for like a 1K open water swim, and I just did like granny stroke because I thought, this is pretty chilled. It was in Salford Quays, and they closed the course behind me because I was going so slowly. There was a little guy in a tiny little dinghy behind me with like a 5-stroke engine, a 5 horsepower engine, just go bop, 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 bop. He's like, "Can you hurry up, please? Are you a bad
I
swimmer?
love to swim.
Can you swim?"
Somewhere between my childhood and now, I've lost the ability to swim.
What?
So that was my.
What? So you'd actually drown if you couldn't have your feet on the ground?
I'd be close. Survival
Really?
breaststrokes. That's
Oh, there's a lot to be said.
one
for
and only
survival
one
breaststrokes.
Tell
one
them
and
the
only
story.
option.
Mm.
Tell them the story.
The story.
The story.
But
The story.
Swimming was so we went back into pre-season on Monday. So Monday, Tuesday was like testing, see what kind of shape you're in. Boys had a long time off. We have 7 weeks off. So Monday, Tuesday was testing. If you're in good shape, you get the rest of the week off. You come in next week, starts properly.
Imagine if that happened to you. Like
So-
6 weeks
Get
off,
bold.
and you get an extra week off
Oh my god.
if you're like in fit shape.
So body
try so hard.
comp and fitness testing. And then the rest of the week, so if you got kept in, if you're out of shape, right, we'll keep you in for the rest of the week. So they've sent us the schedule. It's got swimming, and it's red. It's all coded green, orange, red, depending on how hard a session will be. So it's got Scotstoun swimming pool red. So that was the sole motivating factor for me to keep in shape, like time off. Like that's my worst nightmare is swimming, basically with my head under the water. So
Oh, right.
Is a-
So it's a fear issue as well.
it might have developed into a fear. Yeah. Charline tried to teach me. We were on holiday recently. She tried to teach me.
How
So
did that go?
The
Your
technique-
technique's good. but
technique's good now, but
can only do it for like 20,
But I can still see
20
the
meters.
I can still see the
You
fear in
stop.
his eyes though. He's like, technique's good, but I might still drown.
Yeah. Still
so
working
that
on
would
it.
keep me away from the Ironman, I reckon.
Yeah, people don't
Yeah.
understand how conditioned
Just
you get
seats
into
up.
that one thing that you do. Like probably like rugby, you would be conditioned to take pretty much anything. Like you got multiple impacts and all that kind of stuff. As a cyclist, you become
Yeah.
quite. Like you had to work up to walking on holiday and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
real
I
struggle.
got that.
It's similar in rugby. Like you're so conditioned to the sessions we do are like similar in the sense it's all explosive, short, sharp stuff. So like sprints, it's quite aerobic as well. So it's a kind of, you'd think it would be a general, like it would cover all areas. So say our concussion protocol, you take a bang on the head, you get put into concussion protocol. The first day is like it's like a 15-minute jog.
Okay.
And like to jog for 15 minutes is like so alien to what you're generally used to. You can run about for an hour at high intensity, but if you jog slowly, keeping your heart rate below a certain level for 15 minutes, it's like my Achilles are sore, my feet are sore, my knees are sore. I'm like, I can't jog for 15 minutes, but I can run around for an hour at high intensity. It's like whatever your body gets used to training is like you just get into that groove. And
I think that's one of the really good bits about the tiring, and maybe you've found that as well, is like when you retire, you feel like a more able human.
Yes.
Like you can actually do things.
Yeah, you can be like, oh, I just want to go out for a walk. I love being in nature. I love being outside.
I love nature. Hashtag outdoors is free.
Totally in love with the countryside and the nature, right? Anyway, stop
You
it.
live in inner city Glasgow.
Next to a park. So I loved going for walks and things just to get outside the house. But I was always too tired to do it when I was cycling. But I wanted to do it, but it just didn't work. You can't go for a hike. You couldn't go for a hike.
No, you couldn't go
Could you go for a hike, Phil?
I can't even go for a walk around the block.
sore back.
Yeah.
But I feel like even if you did the tire, you still wouldn't go for a walk down the block.
No. I probably would, to be honest.
I think you would with these, like, here's
Yeah.
nice.
It's beautiful.
Claire would bully
Cumbria.
me out the house.
Would she?
Yeah.
Good on her. That's what I like about her. So let's dive into the physical like fundamentals of like rugby, I guess. So we got like the team sport element. You guys are obviously dealing with a lot of impact. I think you couldn't find a more different sport to cycling, I guess, in a lot of ways, being that it's individual and we have no impact at all, which is why I'm quite scared about possibly trying out rugby. So what makes a good rugby player in your opinion?
The opposite of you, Callum.
A bit of everything in terms of like your aerobic, anaerobic stuff. There's a skill element, and then it comes down to like being able to perform your basic skills under fatigue. But then there's the contact's probably the big thing. So it's like it's all that plus you're getting hit. And I guess in terms of like recovery as a rugby player, the main thing from recovering is like when you're taking hits. Like that's the thing that's tough to kind of, but your body gets used to it, I guess, as well. Yeah, team sport compared to an individual sport. I guess you either got 15 guys on the field, or rugby sevens, you got 7 guys. So if you get beat, you can blame it on someone else. I guess. And
but a good team doesn't
no,
do
but
that.
It's like, yeah.
Unless
I guess
it's a shocker.
I guess there's an element, like looking at it compared to an individual sport, there's an element of camaraderie on and off the field. I guess you share a win with your mates. You get beat, it's the same. You're sharing that with another group of people that the majority of them you get along well with. So I guess that's pretty different. What was interesting for me, like looking at Charline competing and stuff and getting an insight into cycling and something that I didn't see before, was almost the team element of cycling as well. Like that kind of blew my mind initially when Charline was like I would just always looking at cycling, you see it as an individual sport, but she was like, no, but it's kind of like a team sport, but then it's not like officially a team sport, but it is
on
like
the
everyone's
road.
working for on the road.
Yeah.
For example, everyone's working for one rider.
Yeah,
And
so
I was
if your team wins the Tour de France, that's a win for the team.
sprint,
Yeah. Yeah, that was a huge insight for me, and she was trying to explain that, and I was like, well, yeah, but like,
But there's only one winner.
yeah, well, I think it's like, I guess the winner gets all the, from someone that doesn't know about it, gets all the, the plaudits and whatnot. But
you've done a bit of team sports as well, so like, how do you compare that to the individual nature of cycling, especially more sprinting, not so much those stuff?
It's just completely different.
Yeah.
It's completely different. Like I don't know, like.
What, from an enjoyment factor? Or?
I feel like it's more. There's more of a team feel in hockey than on the road, because there is that element of you're going to have to work for someone, and they're going to get the praise. They're going to win, and you're going to be in the dark. But because I came from a team sport before that, from hockey, I kind of went into it as like, right, I'm going to go into cycling, I'm going to work for this person, but if they win, it's like I've won as well. Yeah. And you just have to think like that. I was part of that win. I was part of that. Like, if I didn't help, then they couldn't have done that.
We were kind of talking about that in the car a little bit, because you were like, it seemed like you applied the hockey mentality to the cycling team, I guess. Yeah,
you have to. Well, I guess I was quite lucky coming from a team background, but it must be so hard for girls and guys going into cycling as a sport, and not knowing a team environment before, because you're training every day on your own the majority of the time, maybe doing bunch rides, maybe doing a few, going to the gym, but when you're on the road, you're mostly just doing road on your own, all the hours in the rain and like all the weathers, the heat, and basically you come together just like on the day, maybe for some training camps, and then you ride for this one person. And I didn't mind doing that because I was always about team, and I just loved that. But I did feel sorry for some girls that didn't know how to deal with that.
Well, all of us, I guess, are in team sports to some respect, but the way that the positions are picked are very different. So in cycling is one of the most measurable sports in the world, but with rugby, I guess it's a bit more subjective and a bit more to do with the coach's opinion, coach's style of what he wants to see played. So does that ever create any kind of tensions within the team? Does that pull a little bit?
Yeah, I get it's very, very subjective. I mean, at the same time, all the stats are there. So like we're monitored every training session, every game for like GPS stats, for example. So all that sort of stuff is on paper, but then I guess when you're in that sort of sport, at the end of the day, it comes down to the coach's decision. You might get a coach that just doesn't like you. You might get a coach that really likes you, likes the other guy that you're competing against. It's like, in comparison to a sport like cycling, I guess it's very different. It can be hard to deal with at times, and when you're on the right side of it, it's great. You've probably got no complaints. The coach is picking you. You're playing every week. That's, it kind of takes that element out of it. But when you're on the other side of it and you're maybe battling with a coach's opinion, that can be tough. But then you've got to kind of play up to it in a way that if the coach wants you to do something for a team, then you might have to change what you're doing, and otherwise you might not get a game, sort of thing. So it's something it's quite variable, but something that you can kind of, I guess, you have to manage as a player as well.
I guess one of the interesting points in Scottish rugby is that it seemed, I don't know if this is correct, but there's a general feeling that Hamish Watson gets selected for a lot of Scotland games but doesn't get selected so much for the club side. Is that a good example of two coaches with two different opinions on a player? Yeah,
I guess it can be. You get guys that, like you say, they might be first choice for Scotland at club level. It might be a different story. I guess in Scotland, with only two professional clubs, it's quite a narrow, playing base in terms of, ideally you'd have a lot more guys playing rugby. It'd be easier to make decisions. With Edinburgh and Glasgow, we've got two clubs at the moment where we've got so many players that are of a really good quality that you sometimes just can't get everyone on the field.
This might be a little question for Charline, because I always heard from Becky James that whenever George played a game, like, he would be in a complete box, like cut up, beat up, bruised, and all that kind of stuff. And maybe you wouldn't give an honest would give an honest assessment of how physically beat up you can get. But I always think it's quite good coming from the other half sometimes a little bit to give the kind of true stake of what you're deling with a player after they've had a tough match.
No sympathy.
Gosh, she just moans the whole day.
Okay, so we'll go back to Lee then.
I just feel like I've been hit by a bus. I'm just like, okay, it's okay.
You just want to be held sometimes.
Yeah.
I love being held.
You'll be okay. You'll be okay. No, it's horrible. Yeah, it must be sore. I don't know.
Okay, I'm feeling the lack of sympathy here. Lee, how do you end up after most games?
Yeah, I'm all right, I guess. A bit sore. I'm just a bit sore, No, I can. It's like I was saying before. The contact element takes the biggest toll on your body, I think. The position I play as a winger, it can vary. You can get some games I can make 3-4 tackles. You can get other games where you could make 12-13 tackles. You could carry into 15 contacts. Like, that's where you'd feel the difference in recovery. Like, but like I say, we're conditioned for it. Like, the guys get us in good shape to be able to do that.
What do you do to recover from all these hits?
Just
lie on the sofa for a couple of days.
Yeah, just vent a little bit. If guys are playing a lot in a season, it's all about managing game to game. Like, guys will be sore for potentially 2-3 days, but you've still got to get your gym work done, and you've still got to get everything else. So I think that's probably the difference where
You've got to take your protein as well.
Just
take protein, you'll be fine.
in a sport where you're not taking, like, you can train, you can recover a bit easier and train harder. I'd often say, like, it'd be nice to see some of the guys that play rugby, like in a sport or in a where you're measured without taking all that contact, because it's about managing it, and you can't get the most out of your body every week.
Do you think it would be similar to having a wee crash, and then you've, like, on the bike, see, and the next day you wake up and you're stiff in places, but you've not broken any bones, but you've taken impact. Well, and you know the feeling, you crash and you're like, oh.
I guess the worst bit is, like, it feels like it's not necessarily the area of impact that's worse. It's everything around it which goes into shock, and kind of like, if you say you get if you get hit from the side or crash on your side, you end up walking around like this to kind of compensate.
I guess that's why you have your physio team and the doctors and stuff too.
That's the classic answer from someone who's never been injured.
Yeah, I've never been injured.
I presume there's a physio and a doctor team. I've never talked to them.
But like the road riders, some of them ride with a broken pelvis and whatever.
That needs to stop though, because that's bad. That's a lot of painkillers that go into masking that, and that's not healthy for the riders.
But it's a lot of.
Do you want to tell Lee your worst injury?
My worst injury. Cut my finger once when I crashed into a child.
That's genuinely
into a child.
At the Euros, yeah.
And also,
but then I actually had my finger stitched up with like 20 stitches. That was my worst injury.
20 stitches. No, it wasn't 20 stitches. It wasn't.
It was.
That sounds sore.
And then.
Well, hold on. Just before we move on.
And then I wrote.
Did he ask
the
if the child was okay?
It was fine. I wrote off. And then I wrote the Euros too.
You're giving him a lot more sympathy than your husband here.
Well, I think I've had a worse injury than Lee.
Oh, the broken back.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about that if you wish.
I just broke my back.
Oh, right.
How did you manage that?
Training with Team Scotland before the Glasgow Commonwealth Games. All my dreams were shattered in one bike
accident,
ride. Yeah, just out in Girona, and there was a bit of a spill at the front of the bunch, and then I was at the back.
There's always a spill in a Scotland camp.
Going down a hill.
Yeah.
Fall over everyone goes up. And
your back's okay now, or do you still?
Back's fine.
Really?
Yeah, back's.
That's quite
interesting. I went to the games, and then
we were speaking to Andrew Cotton, who we had on the podcast before, and he, a big wave surfer, and he broke his back and then got pretty much chucked around like a rag doll on the waves with a broken back. Oh. And he still feels the.
Yeah. It wasn't just like a normal wave; it was like a 70-foot wave. Just drowned him.
Gosh, yeah, I can imagine like one impact on it is fine, but then if it's continuously moving, I couldn't even imagine.
And he's trying to get on the back of a jet ski, if you seen the video, and he's just like gets chucked off the jet ski, and
the driver gets chucked off the jet ski, so everyone's in the water basically, and then it's just a comedy of errors. Have you ever seen the stretcher videos on YouTube where like people fall off the stretcher multiple times? Lee, you've seen it? Yeah. It's just like that basically.
I need to watch.
It's quite funny if you didn't actually know what's happened to him, I guess.
Gosh.
So I guess the final point on the team element would be now, how do you deal with selection issues? Our podcast previously, where we spoke to the Who What Bike guys, a lot of that was about, I feel as if a lot of those guys felt as if the Team GB door was firmly closed and wouldn't likely ever open, I guess. Would that be fair? Lee, you've had your kind of issues with selection. I guess, Charline, you have. I have as well. You were kind of pitching to get into the World Cup, and obviously that's been a pretty tough decision to make for the coaches and for you to kind of take as a player as well. Like, how do you reconcile those kind of big disappointments, I guess?
I mean, it happens. Looking at the team sport of rugby, when you've got a squad of so many people, like, there's always people that are disappointed, and that kind of goes week to week. Obviously, there's the bigger stuff, like you say, for example, the World Cup. But I guess all you can do is really focus on, yourself and what you can do to, make the next one. It's like guys all play the game a little bit. You got to be on the side of the coach. You got to be seen to be doing the right thing. It's like, it's subjective is the word. It's subjective. It's so.
Does that limit your ability to be honest with the coaches? Like for fear of rocking the boat too much, I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess it does. If you're looking after your own interests and you're, I guess it it does. But at the same time, you want to be as honest as possible.
Phil, what do you think about selection? You've pretty much been selected for everything you've ever wanted to do in your entire life.
You know, because I work hard for it. And
here we go.
I get myself in a position
Uh-huh.
that they have to select me.
They have to select you.
They have to.
Yeah, well, to be fair, that is a good point.
Yeah.
I think, and that's probably one of the takeaways
Yeah.
from cycling. It's pretty much just the fastest goes. And it doesn't, to an extent, it doesn't really matter how much of an arse you are. If you're quick, you're going to go.
It's a good point, Phil says. Like, you want to be of the mindset that, you know, you can't not be, like, you put yourself in a position that they can't not select you. And that's, it's almost putting your own ego to the side, you know, and doing whatever it takes to be in the position that they have to take you. Like, it's a great way to look at it.
Well, what's the solution? So you see a lot of players changing teams and stuff like that because they feel as if they don't fit into the style of play that a certain club has. So first of all, do you feel as if you fit into the style of play that Glasgow and Scotland have? And then also, is that a realistic solution if you're not getting game time, I guess, to just basically switch clubs?
From my point of view, I've been at Glasgow the last 5 years. I've recently signed a 2-year contract, so I was relatively settled. I'm, you know, happy with the coaches at the moment. You know, I like the way that we play rugby. It's similar in terms of Scotland. It's somewhere where I'm kind of happy at the moment. If you're looking at other guys, I guess it's easy in cycling that rugby. Sorry, like you say, that things aren't working out. You've got a coach that, you know, you don't agree with. You're not suited to the way he wants to play rugby. Then there's the option that you can move to another club.
Yeah, and in cycling, you need to be the best you can be. Like, you're training to be the best you can be on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
But some people will get caught up and take things personally, whereas it's not like they're just better than you or you're just better than them. But doesn't, like, just that's it.
Well,
like,
so from someone that's done cycling and a team sport, how does that differ then? Does it make team sports a bit more like bitchy almost because there's that element of I'm better than you?
I actually find that cycling was more bitchy than hockey.
Oh, really? So even with the numbers to prove it.
But yeah, because they didn't have. Whereas in a team, you're like, oh, well, you accept it a little bit better. You know, I am better than this person, but no. You're not, or actually, you know, it's because it's so simple in cycling. It's whoever's the best. But yeah, in hockey, if I take like my hockey team for an example, it's pretty much the same as the rugby. Not it's in the terms of it's a coach's decision because of who he thinks fits the game, and you know, rather than who's the fastest. As a team, you win together, you lose together. Whereas in cycling, there's like one winner and hundreds of losers. Whereas in like hockey or rugby, there's one loser, one winner.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I see what you
so there's lots more disappointment involved.
I want to pick up on the last point in rugby a little bit because I'm quite a big rugby fan. Been to Murrayfield a couple of times and all that kind of stuff. But like, I think yeah, I'm a big rugby fan. I've actually been to see the Scotland team training. Wouldn't you know, Philip?
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I have.
Have you embarrassed yourself there?
I have. No, I've embarrassed myself with a previous incident. I embarrassed myself with.
Was that in the Six Nations?
Yes.
Ah, little birdie told me that. I knew that.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, it was in the papers as well. But whatever.
No, but they told me what they thought of you as well.
What did they say?
You're Callum after you.
Hold on, no. What did they say?
You're just like, good guy, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
That sounds very forced.
Are you going to go into the Andy Mully topic? I did make a bit of a tit myself once in front of the Edinburgh Rugby boys.
What happened?
I took Phil. I was nice enough to take Phil to an Andy Mully exhibition match at the Scottish Arena, basically SSE.
And Callum had a few too many champagnes or whatever you had to drink.
Just after the games, I was going to treat myself.
And he honestly, you walked around all night saying, "Oh, I'm really famous here," and then a couple of people came up to you, to be fair. But then we sat down, watched the game, and he was off his head drunk. He was like shouting at Eddie Murray and stuff like this. And there was like a girl sat next to us, and Callum was like harassing her, desperate to get his phone number or whatever. And he said, "Oh, Phil, I know these boys behind there." Like there was some Edinburgh Rugby guys behind us. They were like, I know these boys at Glasgow Warriors. And they were like, Callum.
I think I walked in and was like, what up, Warriors? It turned out that girl was actually Grant Gilchrist's girlfriend.
Chloe. I know her.
Do you?
Yes.
I think she worked for a big bank or
and the thing Callum does as soon as he hears, I work for a big bank, and then Callum goes, are you guys looking for any ambassadors by any chance?
It's always good to ask.
You do that.
She was, as it turned out. It didn't follow through to anything, but yeah. I can't remember where I was going to go with it. Yeah, so we're back on Murrayfield. So I guess my point of question there is like, so whenever we compete, we've got a crowd of like 10,000 people max. You can kind of fool yourself a little bit, especially Olympic Games, where you might think there's, people say there's billions tuning in, but there's probably only far smaller than that actually watching that certain event. How does it feel, and like how does it compare to competing at Scotstoun when it's 15,000 people roughly, to competing at Murrayfield when you've got 70, 80,000 people there? Like, do you gain energy from that number of people, or does it not really make any difference to you in terms of like making plays as well? Does that make communication different and difficult?
Yeah, I guess like as an athlete, or when you get used to playing in front of a crowd, I think at first it's obviously like it's a big thing playing in front of. I've never played in front of 10,000 people before. I've never played like it's almost you almost switch off to it, like. And especially, I guess, once a game starts, once you're in the game, you're playing the game, and but it's like an obvious thing. In terms of say Murrayfield, for example, like it's the build up to it, and it's like the walking out onto the field, like that sort of stuff is when you're like, whoa.
Yeah, especially when it's like a night game and they get the pipers out and the flames and all that kind of stuff.
What are you about to say? What were you going to say?
You get tears in your eyes when you see
it. Honestly, when I sing that, when that anthem comes on,
go and sing it.
No.
Do you know the words?
Yeah, of course I know the words.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I guess the big comparison is like in NFL, so you'll get the home crowd making as much noise as they can when the opposition's doing a play, so they can't communicate at all. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
So they actually cheer for the opposition, and then when their team plays, they're dead quiet, so they can communicate. So the whole idea is they're like your extra man on the pitch.
That's
I guess.
awful.
Well, no, it's just
no,
they can run down the clock.
Rugby.
Well, no, I just in terms of that communication,
sport.
is when you're in a massive stadium sport, it must be difficult. You got 70,000 people going nuts occasionally.
Yeah,
but like when a guy goes for a kick, everyone's like shh, like so that
there's a bit of
not at the Pro 14 final.
No, that wasn't like that, was it?
No, very different.
That was
one
awful.
of my. I think you were on about the sort of respect in rugby, and to a degree, I guess there is. One story I'd have from like crowd participation. I was playing. Generally it's all good. You'd never notice it. I was playing a match in Ireland one year in Munster. We were playing against Munster, and there was this little kid at the side of the pitch kept shouting, "Number 11, number 11."
That's a good accent.
Somewhere in number 11. Yeah, thank you. Number 11. I'm like, I'm not going to turn around. It's probably just going to abuse me. I'm like, so he keeps going. I'm like standing right next to the side of the pitch. Number 11. I'm like, eventually, so I turn around and he's like, "You're shit. You're shit." I was like,
So for you, it raises your game. It doesn't bring it to a detriment, you think?
No, I think it's something that you kind of take energy from. Definitely. But it's a similar sense, like you say, Scotstoun. It's in terms of numbers, it's less, but I think it's the atmosphere that it generates. Like because you've got a full stadium, it makes a big difference. Like I've played at Murrayfield when there's only been 3,000 people, and it's that's probably the opposite end of the scale. Like it's in terms of atmosphere, you're struggling.
It's empty. Yeah.
Lee used to play for Edinburgh.
Me?
Lee used to play for Edinburgh.
Long
from Edinburgh
time
to
ago.
Glasgow.
Yeah,
long time ago.
Oh,
the rivals.
Crossing coasts. Unheard of.
Where are you from? You're from both, aren't you?
I'm from both, yeah. I'm a man of the people.
Wherever you are in the newspapers, you
Fife
say.
as well.
Fife as well, yeah. Dunfermline.
Scottish man.
Dumpy.
I actually, the only time I got a lot of abuse in cycling was at the Paris World Championships. So it was just...
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously Phil had a slight mishap in London and the French were very upset about it. And it was their home World Championships soon after that. and man 3's closest to the crowd, and then old Phil is furthest away, so he was pretty oblivious. So basically, Phil had a similar mishap in the Paris World Champs, and the French were on the other side, who they had beaten in the Olympic final.
I can't even remember that, to be honest.
Yeah, so you fell out. There's something wrong with the gate. It wasn't fixed or something, and they went nuts. Like, Charline, you speak French. Hit us with a few swear words. I'll tell you if I heard them.
No.
Okay, so it was like putain de merde, putain, all this kind of shit. Yeah. And I was like, It was my first World Championship.
It was a big controversy as well, wasn't it? Was it not whether a New Zealand team got DQ'd?
Yeah.
So the French won.
Yeah,
did they win?
that competition is very French biased.
Yeah.
Yeah, UCI for you.
Yeah, the Kiwis lost the plot.
Yeah, they did.
Oh,
but luckily there was only 4 of them, and there was about 10,000 French people who thought differently.
Yeah.
I've been reminded that it'd be a good thing to do to apologise to Chloe and Grant Gilchrist. They're in a very happy relationship, and I wish them all the success in the world. After
Lovely.
that very embarrassing incident. I also would wish to apologise to the England, not the England, that makes it worse, to the Edinburgh rugby team for referring to them as the Warriors. That was also a pretty poor drunken moment.
Apologise to the Warriors for...
And I'll also apologise to the Warriors, and I apologise to the people of Scotland for thinking that I was well known and telling Phil all the time that you should just sit back and let me take the reins, basically.
So like a big rivalry going on.
Yeah, they have a cup and everything.
Yeah.
Is it?
1892 cup or something? Is that what it's called?
1872.
1872.
Something.
Because there's only 2 professional teams in Scotland, it's like Edinburgh and Glasgow.
It's like Celtic Rangers.
That doesn't help him. It's like City United.
You know,
I know Celtic Rangers.
yeah,
but everyone who's not been to Glasgow thinks they know Celtic Rangers. But it's a different thing when you're in the city and there's an old firm on. It takes it to a new...
It's next level.
A new kind of
compared to
unpleasant level, I think. So anyway, thought we'd talk. So one of the aims of the podcast was for Phil to find a new job. Another aim of the podcast is for me to find love, I guess.
Oh.
2-year curse.
2-year curse, yeah.
It's out there.
Have you heard about this?
2-year curse.
No, what is it?
Well, it's not my opinion, it's his.
What do you think?
It's true. So Callum's been in like 5 relationships, and they always end after 2 years within a week. So
they do, yeah.
Right.
Sometimes it's my choice. Sometimes it's not.
Okay. Well.
And it's a curse. So
watch
you
out.
need to do something to get rid of it.
Relationships of 2 years.
4?
Oh my
45. You've been there for all. That's why you're like, 2-year curse.
4.
4. Okay.
4.
Wow.
You're going strong with Claire at the moment.
Oh yeah. How long have you been together?
6 years.
Jumped on that.
This is news for the podcast because we haven't revealed yet that you have a girlfriend.
We talk about it every single podcast, I think.
Do we? Yeah. We're in her house right now.
6 years is a
so
long time.
on a completely unrelated topic, Lee, when did you propose to Charline? Years wise.
6.5.
6.5. Oh, Philip, that
After
actually
a
brings
very
us back to
long
a different point.
But how old are you?
We were how old were we when we got engaged?
29.
Oh, it's still a few years then.
No.
26.
Yeah, no.
No.
It goes on like how long
Depends
you've been
how you
together.
measure.
Nah. Jan was engaged for like 10 years.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Engaged for 10 years.
Yeah, he was engaged for 10
I think
years.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Who?
Jan van
Jan
Eyden.
van Eyden, yeah.
What was he doing?
He's busy. He's got things going on.
Jeez.
Well, I wasn't invited to the wedding, but I believe it was a hell of a wedding. I'm not invited to any weddings. That stag do that I talked about at the beginning, I'm not going to the wedding.
That's outrageous.
Specialist stag.
You're gonna get a little invite in the post now.
Don't
I think.
know why.
Well, hopefully this will.
I'm a delight. Jason's mum, when I went to Jason's wedding, one of the few weddings I've been to, said, "You made the wedding."
Wow. Keep
you made it better, or you made
you made the wedding.
That was enough for me. I was like, "Thank you, Jason's mum," and I'll move on to someone else. Is that the Edinburgh rugby team over there?
Yeah, you've grown up with Callum.
Yeah.
Go on, tell us a bit about him.
So
Because I've known him when he was 17, so
yeah,
I didn't see him in his youth.
So just remember Alistair Watson saying, "Oh, Callum's gonna be amazing." Alistair Watson's like basically coached and helped every Scottish athlete that's come from.
Alistair Watson's got a higher hit rate than any like Scottish cycling. Like, this isn't any disrespect to Scottish cycling and the work they do great work, but Alistair Watson's got a higher hit rate.
Unbelievable, man.
We're talking Marco Lubitzi. Who? Chris. Did he help Chris?
Chris Hoy?
Yeah.
He's been through, like, he must have worked well.
Been through, that's not the correct term.
He's been through.
Especially for a guy coaching younger athletes, that's not the terminology you want to use.
Callum, shush. Right, so, no, I was going to say Chris Hoy's been through Meadowbank.
Yeah, but we were
So
talking
he's
about Alistair
trained
Watson there.
I know, but Alistair Watson, it was basically Meadowbank's, like,
But he
main man.
discovered Katie Archibald as well.
Yeah.
Helped you a lot.
Yeah, helped me a lot. Jenny Davis as
Yeah.
well. My team sprint partner from Delhi.
Mm.
Who else?
He's done a lot anyway. He's got a really high hit rate. They should sign him up.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. But let's go back to the couples angle, I guess.
He did it all voluntary as well.
He did, yeah. What a guy.
I just find that amazing.
He did.
Well done, Alistair.
He needs that kind of like, well, he wouldn't want it because he's quite shy when it comes to social media and stuff like that, but he should be like shortlisted for Coach of the Year in Sporty or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like to have Claire's just come back. Should we get her in?
No.
Okay. We can ask her. This is good because we're talking about couples points here.
She's not.
She's not.
No.
Oh, right, okay. So I guess the bit that I'm kind of interested in is what's it like to go out with an athlete, I guess, like, and to both be athletes, I guess, because that comes with a lot of stresses, being away on the road, all that kind of stuff.
A lot of arguments.
No, like we didn't see each
Didn't
other
start off.
enough. Didn't start off
We
like
argue
that. Basically, we didn't see enough of each other to start to argue. Like, it was always great. Like, when you start going out with someone, it's like, yay, it's so good. And then
What's
it's
it
like,
now?
yeah, it's like still so good. But like, no, but like it is really good. But basically, you don't see enough of each other to argue. So it's just, understanding is the main bit. Like, tired, that you're just tired, need to eat well. Think about food all the time.
So what's it like now? You're
I'm
arguing
still,
a lot more.
I'm still like an athlete though. Like,
Yeah.
I still try and live like a good lifestyle.
I feel like
healthy
Lee hasn't
lifestyle.
said much on this topic so far.
So
just
Lee,
let
what
you
do you
run
think?
free. You can run free with this. We do a bit of training and stuff together. Charline will be like, she was like to me in the last week, she was like, "Hey, you've not been training enough. You've not been training enough." Like, I'm like, sorry, what? This is my like, I'm doing enough to avoid the pool session going back in next week, but it can be quite. I guess we can be quite competitive at times.
Definitely.
Like I went.
Do you think you're a competitive person? Like, because I would argue that I'm not.
Really?
Yeah, as an athlete, I would say I'm not competitive. With a twist. So I'd say, like, if it's a game of Monopoly, that's just a game of dice, effectively.
Yeah.
I'm not going to flip the table over a game of Monopoly because it's not worth investing in. But if you think you've got like an achievable goal and you're actually going to make it, I'll be like super, super competitive. But I'm not like a dick.
Competitive with yourself.
Yeah, I'm not like a like, if you say someone's competitive, it's kind of a nice way of saying they're a bit of a dick, isn't it? Because they get really annoyed about losing board games and shit like that.
I can be quite competitive sometimes.
So we did a bit. We were on holiday. We did a few like 5K runs in the morning together, like just a nice 5K. Towards the end, I went out and did one on my own, and I came back and I was like, yeah, like I can't remember what I said, but she was like
I just did a 5K.
Yeah, I did 5K. Yeah, but and then 20 minutes later she'd be like, "Oh, you really want to show me your splits, don't you? You really want to show me your splits?" I was like, "No, I'm not.
No,
nah,
you
it's
did.
just like
You so did.
like, he was like, you were like, she was like, just show me them. Just show me the splits. Show me the splits."
And it was really good.
That's the.
I was like, your Bronco will be all right.
That's the competitive edge there that you probably don't realise. You're like, oh, yeah.
So I think it'd be good to touch on like life after sport. So you've been a couple of years retired. We were talking in the car on the way down that when I first joined the British cycling team, it was pretty clear that you were like a physical competitor, I guess. It's like there was no chance to do university or other things like that as well. So it's kind of a question to Lee about how does rugby take an approach to that? Because rugby seems to be quite forward thinking in terms of getting their athletes to start businesses or to go and do courses. But then also to you about how you've dealt with that transition away from sport.
Yeah, so I stopped cycling end of 2016 and was basically felt a little bit lost and then a little bit down and a little bit lost and found yoga.
Yeah, it's not a competitive game, is it?
And it was actually quite refreshing. I was like, oh, this is what it's like to not have to feel like you're the best. Actually,
if I hold a handstand for longer than Charline, she'll that competitive.
That would I would absolutely rage if Lee could hold his handstand.
Really?
I'd be like that.
It's happened.
It's definitely not happened. It's not happened. It's not happened. No.
What was the decision for you to stop cycling?
You know, at the end, I ended up coaching myself the last few years, and that was really refreshing. And I did sports and exercise science at university, so I knew about the principles of coaching and how to periodize training and things. So I also learned a lot from my coaches, and I had help from friends as well. But then I ended up coaching some cyclists from that, and that grew into a little business. I had maybe like 4 or 5 when I'd finished, just when I decided to stop cycling. And actually Alex Dowsett, I'd started coaching him, so I ended up coaching him for 3 years.
Okay, yeah. He's a world tour rider. That's a pretty impressive feat, I guess.
Yeah, he's actually just won the National Time Trial Championships, and then as riding the Tour de France. It's really great to see him back, you know, riding the Tour de France, so that's great. But coming back to the question of the transition from stopping, I had my university degree, and I didn't start cycling until I was 19, so I was already at university. Had that degree, had done lots of coaching, hockey coaching, swimming coaching before I'd even went to university. Started coaching when I was like 15, gymnastics coaching as well. And then I ended up really wanting to do my yoga because I found the love for yoga. I did my yoga teaching hours.
Competitive yoga?
No, it's chilled me out a bit. It's good. So I'm taking the professional rugby teams for yoga, so helping the boys out with some mobility and yoga.
Phil's favourite thing is mobility.
Really?
No, absolutely not.
That was a joke. Oh, sarcasm.
Basically, he sits in mission control all weekend, is what I call it. It's basically his bedroom. He has like his laptop, his iPad, his phone, his other phone, and his big screen TV and his PC, all just set up. So it does look like mission control. A few Cocoa Pops bowls.
The secret is he's so exhausted from the blue light that you actually just turn everything off and you fall asleep and you get a good night's sleep. So
top tip from Phil.
Top
there.
tip, yeah. No, don't do it.
So coaching felt like quite a natural fit for you afterwards, whether that fell in the realm of PT, yoga, or coaching cyclists.
Yeah, and I ended up going last year. That was last year, 2018, going to the games as a coach. I
remember seeing you there. Yeah.
With Team Barbados. They had
coolest team you could possibly go with.
Coolest team. I have never felt so uncool in my whole life, like just walking around, because they were so cool that my level of coolness was so uncool that I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to speak to anybody. Basically, I've been trying to move out of so much the cycling coaching and more focusing on the personal training and going online. I've gone online now, so I'm doing all my trainings, most of my trainings online. So you have to go back to basics. You have to think, right, this is what everyone says, right, but imagine they're an alien and they've come to the planet and you're telling them, can you do a squat? And they're like, huh? So you have to literally say, feet shoulder width apart, maybe just wider, feet, and then send your body weight back, bend your knees, as if you're sitting on the loo. Oh, they're like, what's a loo? Right, okay. Not alien, but, it's really back to basics. And also, it's belief for a lot of people. Their belief isn't there in themselves. And I say, you can do that. And they're like, no, I can't. And I'm like, how can they not understand that they can do that? And you need to really build their confidence. And it's amazing what you can see, the difference. It's not, PT's not just about knowing what to do. It's about how to build someone's confidence into them feeling like they can do it.
These are good tips for Phil for his future PT business.
It's good fun.
We've never really, I think I would struggle to coach people that haven't got an idea, like that don't know the basics.
It's actually so rewarding though, like helping someone that I've had people come to me that have never done exercise. So obviously they've done PE at school or gym, and they've come to me and they've said, by the way, I've not done any exercise since school. And I'm like, okay, right, okay. Show me, can you stand on one leg? No.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, and like their knees will go in, like they've got no, you know, and it's actually, it's really amazing how you can change someone's life. And they'll say that to you after, say, like a few months or a few years working with you. They'll say, and I get emotional as well when I see them. That I've now been personal training since 2015, and I think I've had a client for about 3 years, and the difference has been outstanding. Like different person, and every time she comes to me, I'm quite emotional because they've never done exercise before. Now they can deadlift. Now they can, run. Now they can stand on one leg easily and, do a wee arabesque, like balance, reach their arms forward. Like it's absolutely amazing. And I find that really rewarding because working with athletes is amazing because they want to, like, they're wanting to learn but breaking someone who is in the world of like working 9 to 5 or has a business or in the world of, that's not exercise. It's just unbelievable because it's an extra for them as well, and it's so rewarding.
Do you have to chuck people off the group when they
No, everyone
do the payments?
Oh, well, it's all online. It's all set up, kind of.
You've never had anyone leave?
No, I've had people leave, but they would stop their direct debit, and I would see, and then I kick them out. I'm like,
I kick them out. Yeah, nice.
Like,
that's what it was.
It's either if they don't give me.
I was wondering if they can pay his tenor and then just like.
Some people just cancel. Some people just
undercover.
cancel. But there's really nice people that message me and say, "Hi, Charline, just to let you know, I've not really been using it, so I'm like, okay, like I'll let her or him exit the group when they want."
I was coming at it from like a undercover guy in the WhatsApp group who just never posts, just silently in there the whole time. So it'd be really good to know. I guess British cycling's gone through a bit of a transition at the moment where they are now encouraging athletes to take up other interests, but I think rugby's always been quite, Saracens are quite famous for encouraging their athletes to do many other things. Like, what was your appreciation of what it was like growing up in rugby and playing in rugby in terms of interests outside of sport?
I came to rugby a bit later than some of the guys, so some of the guys now will come straight out of school, 17, 18, they're straight into the system. I went to university, studied and played 4 years of just like my local club rugby before I picked up my first professional contract. So I kind of had this study behind me that I managed to finish just as I transitioned into the rugby. So for me that was probably a real positive for me. But now I think the union as a whole is really geared towards guys doing extra stuff. They almost require guys to be studying, especially the guys that are just coming into kind of academy systems. Guys might not get kept on. You're only one injury away from a career ending. That's the reality of it.
You're never at the point where you're looking around your teammates and thinking, oh, like if they get injured tomorrow, they're going to be in a bad place. Or is it to an extent?
Yeah, I guess there's always guys I wonder what he's going to do.
That's why we started the podcast.
Got a wee chef Instagram.
Give a shout out to the chef Instagram then.
At Playing the Chef.
Playing the Chef. Okay, nice. Phil's got a little photography Instagram.
Really?
I have, yeah.
What is it?
Behind the lens.
Behind.
Behind
yeah.
the lens.
Yeah.
Good work.
Catchy names.
Nice.
Catchy names. So we'll wrap up towards the end of this podcast. It'd be good to know for Charline and Lee, like what's next for you guys. Like what's in the future.
Well, business-wise, I've got a retreat coming up. I host retreats as well. End of September. Mid 13th to 16th of September. I've got a retreat up at Loch Oilhead, so we're just preparing for that. Lee helps me out with the cooking ideas and the menu for that, and does a lot of my design for flyers and the design for posters and things that go around the lodge. So we're just preparing for that, and yeah, that's what I'm doing really. Oh, I've signed up for a 10k as well, first ever 10k.
That was very intense, but yes, thank
I'm
you.
really excited. I'm competitive with myself.
What are your splits?
Well,
I've done this 10k.
I really want
You
to.
should enter for the 10k as well.
No.
So Lee, what's next for you?
Well, you could
For
drag me
me-
along and then let me win at the end.
Get a free T-shirt. So I'm just starting pre-season basically. After a bit of time off, so into the pre-season for Warriors. Season starts late September, I believe. So bit of hard work in terms of the rugby over the next few weeks, and then get into a new season.
What swimming?
Dodging swimming sessions.
Sessions as much as you can.
Yeah, head above water only.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Granny stroke. That's the best way.
Yeah.
And if guys want to follow you on social media or anything like that, can you give a little shout out to your Instagram and Twitter?
Okay, so at Dynamique with a QUE
Ooh.
fitness
So edgy, so French,
Very
so chic.
at Sha Joyner,
Oh,
but the name's actually Charline Jones on the profile, but it's at Sha Joyner, because I don't think, can you change a handle?
I don't know. Phil's a social media expert.
I think you have to like message Instagram or something. It's too hard, isn't it?
That's too hard.
Yeah.
Social
That's too
media.
hard.
Doesn't know his social.
LJoe_14 Instagram.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's not big on it. Like.
Okay, so basically just
And,
follow
or
Charline
at
and she'll point you
Lee
in the
Jones.
right
Yeah.
direction.
somewhere.
We need to
else.
shout out
Yeah.
ourselves. We got an Instagram now as well.
We do have an Instagram,
Yes,
yeah.
that's cool.
Podcrash pod. Because
Podcast
Crash
pod.
Pod.
Yeah. So Phil started an Instagram account and he got a bot running on it. So it was basically like, it's this classic thing where it like follows and follows people to try and get the
So-
followers up.
Yeah.
And then he got immediately taken down by Instagram.
I saw a few
Oh,
people.
gosh.
I saw a few people running it. Don't want to say any names. So, anyways, I took
Tall guy
one of the
in the British scene.
couple
Broke
of
his
guys,
hand quite
took one of
recently.
their accounts.
Oh.
Because I wanted to see what it was like for the podcast. Took it like to the minimum, and then I got banned. So it turns out you actually get banned. You're running a bot. So this time
life
round,
lesson there.
yeah, this time round,
Nobody
we would
try
use
that at home.
Got to
And-
grow that follower base organically.
Organic, yes, that's the
Organic,
key
yeah.
word. And we've got a rugby player coming on in the future with James Haskell. Do you have any tips, Lee, for what to get under his skin? Apart from Joe Marler?
That guy's into everything, isn't he? He's
Well, I know,
all
yeah.
over the place.
He's got a JCB sponsorship.
Wow.
Mm,
Phil doesn't have a
Oh,
JCB sponsorship.
I don't know.
You should get one.
I'll try.
just say Phil's got a very strong family connection towards JCB, so it's
You could
going to
get-
be it's going to be a little bit embarrassing when we're speaking to James Haskell, who has no family connection at all to JCB, but has somehow successfully got a sponsorship. But yeah, Phil,
Glasgow Warriors sponsor. JCB sponsors the Glasgow Warriors, don't they?
don't they?
I don't know.
Get in there.
Well, that's when you meant to say yes, they do. And
Yes,
thank you for their
yes,
support.
they do.
I think they do.
Very much
Maybe,
appreciated.
yeah.
Okay, so we're going to wind it up. Tune in next week. And anything else?
No, that's it. I'm away for 10 days. So we'll be missing.
No, we
Weeks.
might not.
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe not. We'll find out.
Okay.
Right, bye.
Bye.